What's up, guys? So, I want to see if I can add some value to somebody's life today. um, Me getting into this multi-rotor field venture has, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to learn everything you need to know that encompasses, what it takes to just, like we just want to pick up a controller, put a battery in our drone and take off and fly it, right? Not really that simple. So, well, there's a lot involved. Everybody asks me, they're like, oh man, what's it cost to get into that? Can anybody do it? Yeah, sure, anybody can do it. Cost all different ranges across the board. Me, I decided to, in a very short amount of time, I decided to get into it. I bought a few lots being sold online, so I got everything: batteries, controllers, multi-rotors, and some are assembled, some are not. Several goggles already, and I don't know really a whole lot about them. I guess I'm taking the most difficult path possible. So something that I learned, I ended up purchasing one of these balance charger, and had no idea what I was doing with it. It didn't come with enough parts for me to be able to use it properly. So I had to keep buying connectors here and there. I finally get it to charge, and I ended up burning one of the connectors in my balance board. I had a 3S, and I tried to connect a 4S while my 3S was connected. Didn't even know it was a thing. So I ended up burning one of the pins off of my 3S or my 4S connector. So something else that is really important that I just don't, it's not easy to get this information. So when I see this 14.8 volt, I, in my mind, believe that this battery is fully charged at 14.8 volts. And so in this smart charger, you connect your battery, and it shows, do you want to charge it? This is really hard to see. Do you want to charge it? Do you want to balance charge it? Or fast charge, right? So we put it on storage charge, discharge. So anyways, I typically now charge everything on balance charge. So how many amps are we going to charge it at? I typically, from what I've learned, the milliamp hours, like this one being 1300 milliamp hours, I would charge it at 1.3 amps is how much I'm going to charge it at. So anyways, I click on that, right, and I go to, okay, that's a 4S. So I'm going to go to 4S right here, and what I did was, while I'm charging it, see this fully, because this is where I messed up. So what I did is, for some reason, I went in here. Oh my goodness, this is so hard to do this. Okay, so I went in here. Let's go into settings. And right here, when I first got this thing, cut off. No, not. I went to right here, capacity cutoff, and for some reason, I had put 800 milliamp hours and turned that on. And what that did for me is the battery would charge at, I would put it on 4S, and the battery would charge until it got to charged with 800 milliamp hours, milliamps, right? And once it got to 800 milliamps, it would shut off. I thought it was charged. I didn't know anything about any of this. So once it shut off, it was typically around 14, maybe 14.8 to 15.2 or something volts in the battery, and I had no idea. I thought it was charged, and I thought I was overcharged because it was over the 14.8 that the battery is reading on the front of the battery, right? So every time I would take off, the battery would last maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and then the drone would just fall out of the sky. And I'm like, oh, this is just the way it is, I seen some numbers in my headset, but in the display, but I didn't really pay attention. Everything's flashing, everything's beeping, the battery's flashing, the voltage at the bottom is flashing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Don't care to spend enough time to figure it out. So recently, what I figured out through one of Mr. Steele's videos, his Lipo battery video, I watched it again for maybe the 10th time, and it all started making sense. For one, having that 800 milliamps cutoff programmed into that battery charger was preventing it from getting fully charged. And also a 14.8 volt battery, 4S battery, is supposed to be charged to 16.8 volts, which is 4.2 volts per cell per battery. So once I got all of this information, and I noticed that when I was charging these batteries now, that I had way dead. I mean, I had them down to like 10 volts and 12 volts. I had them like dead. I had one at 6.5 volts. I realized when I started charging it, now I'm paying attention to how many milliamps am I putting back into the battery. And, in Mr. Steele's video, he says don't use more than 80% of the milliamps that are printed on the battery, what the battery is rated for. Use 80% max. Well, I'm putting, like, before these batteries are getting fully charged, I was putting 1,300 milliamps back into this battery, which was telling me that it is dead, like way dead. So hopefully that helps. Another thing that I really feel is important, I had a couple batteries that had a cell that was more dead than the rest of the cells, and so it kept giving me a battery voltage error. So the battery voltage was like at 2.7 on 3 of the battery cells, and one cell was at 1.9 or something, 1.6, dead, And I figured out through just doing a lot of messing with things is I changed it from balance charge to charge, Lipo Charge instead of Lipo Balance, and so right here, let me just go ahead and, so I changed it to Lipo Charge, and I lowered the amp draw way down, and Lipo Charge, and when oh, you probably can't see. Okay, so Lipo Charge rather than Lipo Balance, right? And then I lowered the amperage way down, and then of course pick whatever battery you've got. But what I noticed is it would show like for, well, let me just plug this battery in. Let's do this real quick because I want to be very clear on what I'm talking about. This was extremely important for me, and I feel like if you know nothing about it and you're struggling with this, it could help you also. Maybe other people do more research than I do, but now that I figured this out, this is just so awesome. So let's see, we're gonna go ahead and change this to whatever. I don't care this is only a, so this is a 4S battery, and then of course we hold this down and it's checking the battery, and right here it says R4S and S4S. So sometimes if one of the cells is more dead than the other cells, this will say R3S S4S. Well, if that happens to happen, and you have you know you have a 4S battery in there or a 3S battery, and it says 2S, it says one cell less than what you have, then what that means is one of the cells is more dead than the rest of the cells, and it's not going to work. But if you put this, if you go back and you put this on, if it's saying 3S over here, then you go over here and you reduce this to 3S, and then when you check the battery, it will match up. Even though you got a 4S battery in here, it will still match up for this control. It'll trick this this charger, and then you charge it and you watch. Let me go ahead and change, because all these I know are good. I don't have to do that with this, but so this will say 3S, this will say 3S because you had changed it to 3S even though it's a 4S battery. So now when I start charging it, I go over and it's showing me the voltage in each battery, and you'll see the one that is lower will start climbing, and once it catches up or gets close, like if these were all 3.7 and we get to like 3 volts, then you can shut it off, go back to 4S, and go back to balance, and it will start charging the whole battery like it's supposed to. You shouldn't charge it down, run it down that low, but if you have this battery that won't charge, that might solve the issue. Now, if you plug it in and it has, and it's registering 0 volts on one cell, your battery's junk. So you're not going to revive that. But I had several batteries because of the way that I was charging them and running them, and I was running them way dead, not charging them up enough. I had a couple batteries that were like, I thought they were trash. Well, after doing that, after figuring all this out, thanks to Mr. Steele and his Lipo batteries video, man, what a difference it makes. And now I understand what I'm watching in my headset as far as like how far down to run the batteries, so I can land way before they fall out of the sky. So through my trial and errors and my crash learning course experiences, hopefully I can help to prevent somebody out there, from running into these same heartaches. So man, that's it. I know it's probably a long video, but I wanted to make sure that I tried to explain it as good as I could, so that you start charging the batteries properly and discharging them to to a point to where you're not hurting them. And so, like I said, if you check out that that other video that Mr. Steele has on them. After you've watched this video, then maybe it will make his video make a little more sense. So that's it for now. Appreciate you watching, and see you on the next one.